Went over to Germany for a little bit beforehand, and sustained pretty bad brain injury there. The helmets do work, but they're meant to stop bullets, not so much the concussion or the concussedness of um, those type of demolition.
Welcome back to Brain, y'all. This is our Handle with Care segment. Today, I'm sitting down with Staff Sergeant Jason, who is in the Army. Jason, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is cool. You and I hadn't met until Italy at the Winter Olympics. I was handing out pins. We shared a brief conversation. You have had brain injuries as well, plural brain injuries, and it kind of struck up a conversation. I'm so glad we stayed in contact. You and your family have made it home safely from Italy. We just caught up about how much fun the Olympics were. But let's get right into it. Can you kind of share your story about your brain injuries and really life before they happened?
Life before the brain injuries were kind of, I would say, normal, quote unquote, if you will. So, uh, easygoing, fun, charismatic person, kind of be around, enjoying life. I had my first brain injury probably when I was, I don't know, I want to say around 20, 21 years of age. I'm 40 years old now. So before that, from what I can remember, that, just a normal lifestyle, not a care in the world, living free, just young and dumb. So yeah, during that time, that would be a typical, you know, young adult, if you will.
Okay, that makes sense. Like every childhood, right? We're having fun, kind of being a little reckless, not thinking about consequences from doing silly things with our friends. Now, you said your first one happened when you were a kid, and then before this, we talked about your time in the service. You're obviously still serving our country, which we greatly appreciate, but you mentioned during some of your deployments, you also received brain injuries as well. Can you talk about that?
A little bit. So being over, we served in Iraq in 2006. So the kind of the train up to those things. Went over to Germany for a little bit beforehand, and sustained a pretty, I'm not going to say severe, pretty bad brain injury there. Getting ready for that, being in those Humvees. You kind of know how big, loud they are, and when they roll, they definitely roll. So, being exposed to the brain injury, like we were talking a little bit about before, with being more susceptible. So when that happens at that kind of young age, you kind of just you push it off. You really don't notice anything. You don't say anything about it or bring it up. It's just something that happened, and you kind of just move on. One thing I wish I would have known when you eventually go over there, yeah, and then you got to kind of protect your head a little bit more. So when explosions happen or demolitions are going off, some of those activities, you kind of put yourself into that vulnerable situation again. So that's kind of where it happened, where it started, and then kind of just progressed from there, not realizing what was actually going on upstairs.
Hey there. Have you learned about Plasticity Lab? No, you haven't. Look, you already got your phone out. Why don't you go to the App Store and download it? My app, Plasticity Lab, is free. It's right here. See it? Look at it. Cool. Again, it's called Plasticity Lab, and it gives you daily exercises for your brain. I built it, and I guarantee you're going to love it. All right, back to the episode. And when you mentioned that these explosions, you obviously are most of the time wearing helmets, but it's that blast. I mean, you can be wearing a helmet, but that shock that's sent when you're that close to explosions. Can you explain that to the audience since you've lived through it?
So it's you'll feel it, right? So that's that shock wave that you're talking about that will kind of, if you're not preparing yourself for it, will kind of knock your body, your head, jolt you back that you're not expecting. So then again, if you're by something, around something, and you hit your head on that. So yeah, the helmets do work, but they're meant to stop bullets, not so much the concussion or the concussedness of um, those type of demolition.
Mhm. And so in those moments when you sustain these concussions, these brain injuries, you can't press pause in warlike situations. You know, you're in such a vulnerable position. Put us through that mindset. How do you, when I sustained mine, I lost consciousness, but I've also talked to other people that have had concussions. I mean, your bell's rung. You're not seeing straight. There's ringing in your ears. How do you continue to maintain your cognition to complete the task when there's enemies ahead or there's a mission that needs to be completed? I mean, that's got to be terrifying.
So it is, and it's just one of the things I think you're taught in the military that you press on. Like it doesn't register at the moment. Like you're still, it's kind of a weird feeling to kind of put into a perspective, saying like when it does happen, because you are dizzy, you kind of see blurred vision, but then also you pull yourself back and recognize to be able to get that done. So I think some of that what we're talking about earlier as well off the camera with that short-term memory loss where it comes into play after the fact. You're like, what did I just do? What happened? But you are able to cognitively think while it was going on. So but yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling to put into somebody's mind that I don't know that maybe could understand.
Mhm. Is this so? Is this something that's discussed within the military with other soldiers? You know, when I think of the military, I think of very strong individuals, ones that are not likely to, you know, say, "Hey, like I'm injured or I'm hurt." You know, you don't like. I don't think of weakness when I think of military. Is it kind of brushed off when these situations happen, where it's like, I don't want to like sound like I'm complaining. Does that make sense? Is that a dumb question?
There used to be a stigma when I joined in the early 2000s, right? So there was a stigma with mental health or any injury, regardless of that. They call them sick call rangers, always going to sick call or something's wrong, and there was a stigma. And in today's what would you call that? In today's atmosphere, it is more welcome to kind of speak up, especially about mental capacity inside the military, where you don't, there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of resources that are available to us soldiers that are encouraged to seek out, and command really supports those decisions to make sure that you're well taken care of.
That,
We're go ahead.
that no, that's fantastic and comforting to hear. I know we do have men and women in the service that do listen to this podcast, and I think it's important for them to know that those services are available. Would you be willing, if you know off the top of your head, Jason, some of those services that they can access or where they can just find the information online?
I would have to go back and look at that. I wouldn't have it right off the top of my head. But some of these VSOs, these veteran services organizations, Military One Source is a great resource to use as well. I know all the military members know about those. And then obviously our medical chaplain support staff is our the basic resources that I would start off with. But I do have other resources at my disposal on my computer I don't have right in front of me.
I threw you under the bus with that one.
It's no problem. I wish I had right off the top of my head, but I don't. But those are the first three that would come to my mind.
I think those are perfect. A good resource to begin with. When this is, so you mentioned multiple concussions.
Yes.
Would you be able to give us a number off the top of your head? Would it be on one hand, on two hands?
I could probably safely say there's probably been 7 to 8 concussions that I've sustained throughout my career. Most most of them service connected, and then like I said, I'm a big sports guy, so I've probably sustained 3, 4 of them through sport as well.
Man, wow. I mean, that's so many knocks to the brain.
It is,
Let's
and stuff that comes out about watching pro sports and the CTE. It's kind of some of the stuff that I'm going to start going through. I'm about the end of my service obligation, and going to retire out there. So I'm actually starting to begin that process, and it's something that I'm, I guess, interested is the word, to see, like, once they go back in and do the scan, to kind of see what's developed, and since taking it from there. So
Is that something that concerns you, knowing what those results might bring?
they do. That's why I said I use the word interesting kind of carefully, just to you hear the stories, how they've developed down the line, especially with professional athletes and especially football players, that some of the things that kind of to wrestlers, in that same department, with the sustained concussions that they've had. So yeah, it kind of scary, but interesting to see as well, to kind of match, compare. And I think there's been a lot more studies that have coming out to kind of help and explain and kind of cope with those types of deals. So interested would definitely be the word I'd use.
I think that's a great word to use, an optimistic word to use.
Yes.
Have you noticed any changes either cognitively or physically from that first concussion? I know it's probably tough to recall all the way back then, but to now after the seventh or eighth, you said, I mean, have you noticed maybe your reaction time has slowed, or your critical thinking is different, or you have head pain or memory loss? Taking a quick pause from today's episode, people have been asking about the hats and shirts that I wear on all of these podcasts. They're also asking where they can find my memoir. You can check everything out over at toroandtides.com. Again, that is toroandtides.com. My memoir, Forgetting to Remember, is also available on Amazon. That dives deeper into my own brain injury recovery journey. Alrighty, back to the episode.
So the memory loss is definitely probably the biggest one, is being hard to remember. If I have a rule that if I don't write it down, that I probably forget to do it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. My brain, and so you were asking earlier, the difference between before and after is more of a cognitive awareness, because I think I have to be. So my mind is always racing, it's always thinking, and it never shuts off, because again, I'm afraid that I have missed something, or I'm not going to be prepared or as I should be because of A, B, or C. So that is probably one of the bigger differences. The migraines, I barely get migraines, but you can sense it, like, right here, when they do come on. So yeah, I'd say memory loss and the cognitive thinking is something that's kind of slower. I play a lot of sport. Tennis is my favorite, the one that I pick up, and that does require a lot of hand-eye coordination. Uh, I think I'm older, so I've noticed a drop off, but again, I'll use that word interesting to see as they keep coming. Yes, they do kind of slow you down a little bit.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
I see a wedding ring on
yep.
your hand. Is this something that you've discussed with your partner? Are they aware of concerns you have, or what the future might look like, or have they spoken up or noticed anything, or where they're adamant about, like, hey, maybe write this one down so you remember?
So, like I said, yeah, my wife, she again, paying attention is hard, and like I said before, I kind of chalk that up to maybe, I'm not as an attentive person as I should be, or is it because, of some of those issues that I have been having? So, um, and right there, I almost forgot where I was going, but uh, yeah, so we've discussed that I've had them, but nothing further to the point of what comes next or what's after. But, she's concerned about some of the things that, I've done or she's seen in me. But until we're both kind of the same way, until maybe those scans come back, when I start this kind of out processing thing, kind of see and what the plan is from there, kind of one step at a time type deal, instead of like worrying and stressing for no reason, maybe. maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't, but that's kind of just how we live. So
I think that's a great approach. I always heard if you worry about something, that means you put your body through it twice, right?
it
The
it's exactly
event.
right. So it's we have a model here as well. It's just like control the controllables. So can you control it? Yes. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to fix it. You can't control it, then understand you can't control it and move on. So it's kind of something we pick up here as well. So
Great advice for our listeners, those who have a brain injury and even those that don't, caregivers or just listeners in general. I talk to a lot of athletes who are friends of mine who have sustained concussions playing soccer or football. And I think one of their I think regret might be a strong word, but I'll just say regrets is getting back onto the field too soon. And so you mentioned you sustained some as an athlete, you also sustained some as a soldier. Is there any way, or if you could go back and reapproach each of those concussions, would you have done anything differently?
I would have taken the time out, just like you said. I remember, well, number one, being in the service and being that young. Like I said, when the first one happened, that I can remember happening, um, you're taught, it's ingrained in you that you suck it up, you do what you're told, and you got a job to do. You don't have that time to take a pause. You just do it. And so being young and reckless, and I'm a soldier, I'm a tough guy, all that kind of goes in your brain as a young soldier. And then as you get older, you start to realize the one that immediately popped into my mind when you were talking about is I did take the time,
Hmm.
uh, because I wasn't physically able to recover as quickly as the first one. So my body actually forced me to. I was home for probably 3, 4 days, no lights on. The medication type thing. I couldn't really see very well from it happening, and that kind of set me up for success later on um, to take my time, take a time out, and not rush things back.
Hmm. Look, if you don't mind, we could zero into that approach that was successful for you. Were you following doctor's orders at this point? Were you kind of going off just what your body was telling you? Was it a mixture of both?
It was both.
Okay.
Yep, it was both. The doctor saying, "Hey, you come to me now." And the episode I'm thinking about is probably my third or fourth one at this time. He's like, "You've mentioned that you've had, multiple of these. You've been knocked unconscious. So you need to take. You can't do this." So I was restricted for a while. I think up to a month from playing any type of or doing any type of activity. But like I said, for those 3, 4 days, I didn't leave the house. I almost couldn't
Hmm.
with the lights and being so bright. So it's kind of a combination of both. Somebody telling me, but then kind of wisening up when you get a little bit older and saying, "Hey, do what they're telling you, so you'll be better off down the road."
Yeah. Yeah. Do you notice I have a sensitivity to light and sound as well. Is that an issue for you, or was that just acute right after the concussion?
It very much so. Light sensitivity is a big thing. Even today in my office, it was bothering me. So I had to flick them off. And when people come in and then the motion light kicks back on, you definitely can tell. So like that would probably be the biggest like physical thing with like not so much the severe migraines, but like that light sensitivity with uh, like being able to have those off. Even at the house, you can ask my wife. She hates I when I'm in the living room. I turn the lights off. They bother me.
Yeah.
And like, come on, it's still daytime. You got to kick those on or whatever. But so 110%.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm the same way. Okay, so hidden injuries, right? That's another reason why I started Toro and Tides. Some brain injuries are hidden injuries, right? We're putting a face to it, recognizing it. What's one thing looking at you, and for our viewers that are watching on YouTube or on the video on Spotify, Jason, you look like a typical functioning man. If I saw you at a coffee shop, I'd think nothing of it. And I get that all the time as well. What is one thing you wish people could understand about brain injuries and then also yours specifically?
Um, I guess they're not easy. um, to deal with. So when you say like hidden injuries, it's something that when you look at someone that you would have no idea that they were just going through life normal, happy, understanding everything's working properly. When you have that, when looking at somebody, you just can't tell how sometimes difficult it is for daily function in life with some of those things that are going on, upstairs. So the I wish, you know, not judging a book by its cover, just being able to understand that people might have different disabilities, not just head injuries, just anything that could come on, and just getting to understand and know somebody, and actually just being a human being to another individual, you'll find out a lot. So
Wise words. And I think grace is a good descriptive word to kind of encapsulate what you just said. So many people are quick to get, annoyed or frustrated with individuals and not really take time to listen and hear their story. Sounds like you're the outlier, Jason, that you actually do that and you take time to understand what people are going through, which I commend you for. And maybe that's why we got along so well in Italy, because I bombarded you with a pin.
and it started a little relationship. So you never know where those things type of lead, or those relationships lead, those types of people lead you, and the experiences that you'll have in life by just understanding another human's perspective. It's a lot of fun. You'll never know what can happen. I'm sitting here on a podcast a week later, had no idea it was just for a random pin that I turned around and talked to a guy that was trying to get his message out, and it struck a chord. So, absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for hopping on here with me and sharing your story, being vulnerable and educating the masses about brain injuries. Is there anything else I may have missed or anything you want to add to our community?
I think you covered it all, and I'm looking forward to being a part of your community, following you on all your social media platforms. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out, and look forward to it.
Jason, thank you so much. And more importantly, thank you for your service to our nation. We really appreciate you today and jumping on the pod with me.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your support.
Have a good one.
You too.